and thank you for your question. I think we've seen how the mechanism of school meals can be also a powerful way to respond when in emergencies, right? Leveraging on the platform that is already existing, and organizing food distribution, or making sure that there's no break in the delivery of school meals. So this is where our supply chain becomes instrumental, and where in the World Food Programme we definitely build on our experience of responding to emergencies and making sure that the commodities are either pre-positioned or delivered in a timely basis. One thing I think that is also important to consider when we're talking climate is how much our school meals can also be leveraged to help with adapting agricultural practices. So again, if we're setting the school meals program within a clear agricultural angle, then allowing also to engage with the food systems and making sure that the meals get adapted to the changes, that maybe the commodities that make the food basket of the school meals change depending on what can be grown and what is feasible in various areas. So I think the context is also key. Another talking technology and maybe geeking out a bit, if you allow me for a minute, I think one thing that we were also looking in is mapping the consequences of climate shocks, and anticipating where the schools would be hit, and making sure that we also contribute to the consideration of the exposure of schools depending on where they are, if they're built in flooding areas and so on. So this is an area where our team of data and geospatial analysis can also help, and that's an area where we hope that we can be much more intent in how we work also with the schools. The last point I wanted to make is also green practices in the schools, whether it's putting solar panels or changing the cook stoves, but also helping the cooks in the schools to change their practices and support changing the whole equipment of the schools.
Well, thank you so much, Anita. I think it was heartening to see that how you can actually shape your sustainability in times of floods and disasters. I know that Pakistan is 70 districts which are prone to flooding from north to south, and that is something that we need to see geospatially as to how our meal programs can be working in times of emergencies actually. So that's and also I think localization of sustainability that you spoke about, that how we can have a green concept within those areas, and looking at all localization of the good models that we have established in Pakistan. Thank you. Now I'll go to Swarat, from your perspective, engagement of the private sector.
Okay.
I think that's very important in terms of how you look at that. But how you look at that, from the perspective that it's a very conventional private sector, but then there's a private sector like, Allah Wale entrepreneurship that has established a model without any costing. How do you see those gains in terms of public to public or private to private partnership that can actually bring access to meals to the children of Pakistan, please?
Okay. Okay. Thank you. And definitely you have pointed out that the way Allah Wale Trust has been operating, obviously they started with the private sector funding. So that's one example how private sector and philanthropists have been contributing to this whole program, which has grown from starting from a very small number now up to 170,000 students every day. So, that's one way of looking at it. The second aspect is not necessarily in terms of the money, but also in terms of the ingredients that are used in the school meals. That how well those ingredients are produced and provided to if it is, community managed program or school-based, school-managed program, then what is happening around them? Like, for example, the farmers, the aggregators, the other retailers from where these ingredients are sourced, whether they are safe, whether they are grown in a I would say responsible business conduct has been practices while producing those ingredients. And of course, one simple example of that is that there is no child labor. There is in terms of no excessive use of pesticides and other chemicals on the crops. So all these things, the private sector, who is actually maybe not directly engaged in the implementation of the program, but they are providing these materials, they can show a lot of their contribution in terms of how things are grown and how they are processed and how they are then, although on the one hand, whoever is running the program, it also depends on them that how responsibly they are sourcing the material for their program, but at the same time, how responsibly those things are produced so that, it looks after the food safety and it looks after the human rights aspects of that. Again, then various private sector people, they have programs in their own, like wherever they have their production unit, they have their own CSR program or a foundation or through whichever mechanism they are contributing to the community development. If they can contribute beyond just what they are producing, beyond that, their resources also to the school meal program, that will also help in terms of longer term sustainability, because these are the local resources going back to the development of the next generation in a healthy manner, having healthy lives and being able to in future contribute more to the economy as well as to their own lives and the economy.
Thank you so much, Ms. Farah. I think you have touched upon many important areas where how the commercial sector, the private sector, not only looked into the standardization of food and ingredients, also looking at agriculture sector, for regulation, regulatory purposes, where you can actually have less, adulteration of things and consequential harm to the children of Pakistan. Thank you so much. Coming back to Nutrition International, I know Dr. Shabina and her team are doing a wonderful job in terms of their promotion of the fortification of food in Pakistan, and also looking at MMS and also, the transition between IMS and IFA and MMS. How would you see, Zamir Saab, the integration that is required in terms of your targeted programming for these products as a product, but also integration with, the whole school meal programs?
Yeah,
please.
Thank you, Dr. Tariq. This is very, I would say, this question is close to my heart. So I would like to share two examples, and then I'll talk about a few other global best practices. How can we integrate and make our school meals program or school nutrition program more wholesome? So the first one is that Nutrition International has found out, and the evidence also suggests that it's fine, like school meals and these things are working well for the children up to the age, before the age of adolescent. But when we talk about adolescent girls, we have found out their needs for and their anemia rates are very high, and their need for iron increases significantly, and that's where we have to bring in weekly iron folic acid. We have tested a model in 7 districts with BISP, with support from GIZ and Gates Foundation, where we provided weekly iron folic acid supplements to the adolescent girls, and we integrated wheat flour fortification produced by the chickies in those vicinities and WFP was also a partner for that as well. And that model worked out that giving weekly iron folic acid, giving them access to healthier, nutritious atta flour, wheat flour, which is fortified with vitamins and minerals, and giving them nutrition education, that what to be eaten, so that has really worked out in a way that these girls became agents of change for their families, and they were in fact a kind of building peer pressure amongst within their families to change the dietary habits. So that has really worked out, and it had quite a significant reduction in anemia. There was a dissemination of those research findings. So we propose that if this school meals program is shifted to the high school or secondary school, I heard it is in most parts it's up to the primary levels. I would suggest that weekly iron folic acid, as per WHO guidelines, should be included for the adolescent girls to have far-reaching impact. Secondly, which is most important and relates to more of a primary but secondary as well, is that we have found out, and there is a whole lot of evidence that deworming works a lot. I mean, we should not be feeding the worms. Shaisa, my suggestion would be, there are many organizations, those are working in deworming. It's such a critical area. And we know that anemia, we can't cure anemia and address wasting and maybe stunting and other micronutrient deficiencies if children are not they're provided with deworming twice annually. So I would suggest if you could kindly build partnerships with this. Nutrition International and other partners are happy to support, but that's very important to have far-reaching impact. Third one, sir, allow me. I'll try to wind up. Quickly. The third one, and I think we all of us agree that we have to integrate food fortification. And the good thing about this school meal program is that we cook and serve hard cooked meals, and sourcing these ingredients which are already enriched with essential micronutrients is something that is, I would call it, a low-hanging fruit. And I would appreciate Allah Wale Trust's leadership that they listened to us and they built partnership with a flour miller, which was fortifying atta flour in partnership with Nutrition International, and now they are sourcing fortified wheat flour for their school meals in Lahore. But we are open to build more partnerships, and that's where the connection we can build with the private sector, because if they are not willing to provide additional CSR, at least they would be willing to provide healthier ingredients which are enriched. So that's a very important thing to look at. This supplement we have touched upon. Another important area, wash. We all know if the basic wash facility. I read 30% or so facilities do not have primary washroom or hand washing facilities. You're working on it, but school education departments should be, and the donors like UNICEF should come forward and support and build that environment so that there is no and local sourcing of that's private sector can be. I mean, if we source local ingredients, that's how we can build our foods. The whole supply chain become much more efficient, and it is in a way generates a ripple effect of economic opportunities. So that's very important. And lastly, I would say that. I must congratulate and that the Punjab Food Authority. I mean, now the point I'm trying to make is that there has to be a healthy school environment. I mean, it should not be that school canteens should be having ultra-processed food or sugar-sweetened beverages or carbonated drinks. So Punjab Food Authority's role and the other food regulatory authorities should also pick it up that there shouldn't be any such unhealthy feeding environment in or around schools. So that's how we can have far-reaching impact. Sorry it took longer, but thank you so much.
Thank you. I
for
think
your
you touched
patience.
upon many areas. You know, you talked about regulation, food authority, canteens in the school, and how junk food is being distributed in terms of, and also, I think in addition to your micronutrient initiatives, you also touched upon, that how education can actually. Thank you. Again, sir, Nazir sir, you are system, you are government, you are looking at the larger coverage of the country in terms of coordination with the provincial governments, with devolution in hand and, many things going on. How would you see the outcome in the next 5 years as one attribute that comes from the Planning Commission? Sir?
Thank you so much. We have now 13th five-year plan in the implementation phase. The targets are fixed, and this annual plan, we have started implementation of the 13th five-year plan. Once we have the policy guidelines, the rules, responsibilities are defined of the sectors and all actors together. For the next 5 years, I hope especially social sectors target and nutrition and other sectors targets will be achieved, because we have also the global commitments in hand. We have to report SDGs, we have to report WHO targets, and we have to see. The main thing is that after devolution, the provincial governments have to implement from their own ADPs and their own sectors. And this side, the main responsibility of the provincial governments to implement the initiatives, to follow the federal government's guidelines and the policies to report and also implement that grassroots level. Especially school meal is the responsibility of the provincial governments from their own to implement this and to report the federal government as per policy guidelines. At the morning they discussed the stunting is 40, the wasting is dashed, and out of school is dashed. I think the indicators are now improved. The figures now change. These figures we are talking about 2018 are more than 17 beyond. Now we are planning to have a fresh national multi-sectoral nutrition survey to find out the recent development after climate, COVID, and other things also in the part. So we are trying to get the fresh data to help the policy planning and the overall achievement of this government and targets.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I think you touched upon how the financing mechanisms and also a very concrete 5-year outcome, oriented plan actually. Coming back to Khurram yourself, I think you spoke about rights. You spoke about how Pakistan, in terms of its responsibility to look at. I mean, given your experience in Pakistan and the evidence that you have, how do you see the vulnerable children of Pakistan, with evidence from Save the Children, can benefit from school meal programs?
I think, let me quote, and I met some of my previous colleagues, and they reminded me of a project earlier, which very safely I can quote in this context. It was 2 projects, but I would refer again one, just being conscious of time. It's the children in cotton. And that was in the southern Punjab and the Sindh areas, the cotton growing fields. It was a long 14 million euros project, multi-sectoral, also providing an opportunity, be it education, health, nutrition, mainstreaming back the children to the school, addressing the poverty as well, and taking the child. And the primary focus was taking the children out of the labor and cotton fields, which takes away, because of the poverty, their right to go to schools and other basic rights. And I think with that project, we had the livelihood opportunities for the parents. So, you actually can address the core issue or a challenge. And same goes with the meal programs as well. It's just not providing the meal. I mean, thanks to the US Department of Agriculture, now they are supporting WFP. Anita is here, and Save the Children with a $80 million grant, which is exceptional under the circumstances. We can't thank them enough for supporting, where we have 40% children stunted, 26 million or 24 million children out of school. I think this program has many extensions to it and a potential to build on as well. The extensions are around, the capacity building and training and building the wash facility, sanitation facility, and many more other extensions. And then a huge opportunity. The other day, Nadia and we were discussing about that a lot of public-private partnership opportunities can be dovetailed to create a bigger impact for the children, covering all the aspects. So I think that Children in Cotton project, when we did, it was a 14 million euros, substantial children, numbers of children. I am not able to think out of my head exactly the numbers, but substantial number of children were mainstream, and the impact was there. And same I expect from this program. Because of the poverty, the parents are dependent upon children to earn. That dependency would go away. They can see that this meal, and there are families who will be supported with the rations as well, whoever would going to meet the criteria there. So I think this is as a whole is quite beneficial.
Thank you, Kharam sir. I think it is very healthy discussion that is going on, but this is going to be my last question to all of you, and a common question and let me set the tone for this actually. And the tone is that Government of Pakistan with World Bank is co-financing many initiatives, and PC1s are in the phase of emergence actually. And we know that World Bank is also looking at child nutrition and well-being surveys happening all around. The federal government, the provincial governments are doing it, and there's a I would say hundreds of millions of dollars will be actually flown into the requirements of the children meals program in Pakistan. And from a very broader perspective, just not the nutrition, but also the well-being, the psychological support, the inclusivity that we spoke about. So that is one thing. That's a good investment that is on the cards. The second is Child Nutrition Fund, which is coming up. We know that it's about $52 million that is coming up, maybe 42 or 52, I don't remember the right number, but this is also where provincial governments are actually going to co-finance with this fund, and or are working with their PC1s actually. So this is going to be a very complex situation in terms of the financing environment of Pakistan, with all those international and great examples from Pakistan, indigenous examples of Pakistan, which is actually covering without any donation, without any financial support from World Bank or anybody, looking after 170,000 students across the country and thinking of making the bigger change. So in this milieu, where you see that how this whole thing actually gets into a targeted micronutrient strategy, the climate that Anita spoke about, the supply chains, the geospatial requirements, we need to make sure that we have things with our children right when they need it, and they're not at the mercy of just the environment and So it has to be strategized. So from that perspective, how do you see a targeted micronutrient program or a food fortification program and programs like Allah Wale are going to be integrated for a sustainable cost? That is my question, sustainability. How do you see from your perspectives sustainability moving forward? Please. Anita, to start with. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. No, I was just thinking about this part of the question, that how, I mean, it's nutrition basically is an outcome of whatever, of our food system, and the food system has to provide such food which is nutritious and which can fulfill the needs of our bodies. So it's not that there would be a separate nutrition program and a school meal program. It is the school meal program that can integrate all nutrition aspects into that, and that is why we spoke about the food fortification and using the fortified ingredients, sourcing ingredients which are safer, looking after water and sanitation. The water in Pakistan, for example, 70% of people do not have access to safe drinking water, which is according to the standards. These are all kind of things. And of course, together with that, if there isn't health services which are linked to also, which are freely available for everyone, equitable access to health services, and if some children, they become sick, having that access together with, so it's not just you cannot say that meals can be a separate thing and the nutrition can be a separate thing. Nutrition will come from the meals. Huh? So in order to continuously, this then continuously needs to be looked at. For example, we had also in one of our experiences, we looked at the dietary diversity of children, that what are they eating? Can we have this whole whole recipe of what meals are we providing over a certain period of time, whether we can build in dietary diversity into those. There are challenges with some of these things, unless these are the meals are prepared at local level or the school level or the community level. It will be difficult to actually make it more diverse, and so that we also meet the dietary diversity score, and that would also mean that we are regularly providing the ingredients that are necessary to fulfill the nutrition related needs of the people. So it is again, but it's not only that the food provision will help address everything. Of course, the health professionals have to provide health services in case children are sick, so that they can better absorb the food that they eat and they still stay healthy. The only thing perhaps we need, something that I would like to highlight is that probably we need to have certain standards in terms of the school meals, what is acceptable, what is not, do's and don'ts of all that. And perhaps that can also, when they talk about the policy and the legislation around that, in order to have something, a program or something that continues, there has to be that legislative protection that needs to go together with that. But then we need to have those standards, those guidelines, so that, it's not, we do not deviate from those, in order to make sure that the meals are nutritious according to the needs of the children and other activity they perform.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. And I think I was just thinking, that when Shai Sahib was actually, making remarks, he said, that I don't have a team of proposals developers, very, sophisticated kind of writing, So my whole question was about, from sustainability perspective, that there are indigenous examples which are emanating from Pakistan to make things come together and have that wider coverage gaps closer, actually, right? So from that perspective, I think it will be very good to hear from you how you see, some collaborations, some sustainability that you see that, indigenous model of Pakistan, like, Allah Wale, project can be actually integrated within your, sir, please.